Alright guys, I'm the NFL Addict, and today I will be making my 2021 Seattle Seahawks NFL record predictions. Before we get started, we're almost done with the whole NFL predictions, and then we've just got playoffs. I'm going to redo a couple teams instead of the whole league like I said I was going to do. And yeah, so if you like NFL content, do this kind of stuff all year round, like and subscribe for future videos. Alright. So the Seahawks are a team that really is going to be all about that offense. That offense is really, really great, especially the passing game. You've got Russell Wilson, who's probably a top 5 QB. Then you've got DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, two of the best wide receivers in the game. Or maybe not two of the best wide receivers, but one of the best wide receiver ones, and then one of the best wide receiver twos in the game. Tyler Lockett would be an all right wide receiver one, but he's a really, really good wide receiver two, if that makes any type of sense. And re-signing Chris Carson was a great move. Their all right offensive line is going to go great with him. He's not, a top. He might be top 10 in some lists. I mean, he's in that area where like he's really good, but there's a lot of other really good running backs in the league right now. And locking down a running back is not a thing that a lot of teams are willing to do. So the fact that the Seahawks are going out there and doing that is probably a good thing. This Seahawks front seven is taking a bit of a dip, but with Carlos Dunlap, Poona Ford, Bobby Wagner, he's been in the league for, it seems like, forever now, even though it's probably only been like 5 years. But he's one of the best linebackers in the league still, I feel. So I really like this front seven. Obviously taking a bit of a dip. They only got those three guys, and I mean, Poona Ford, you haven't heard his name very often, but he's had some moments. And then that secondary, you've got Jamal Adams, and that's it. And Jamal Adams, again, didn't have that great of a year last year. He's had amazing years. He's had years where he's the best safety in the league. Last year, though, he wasn't great. He was still really good, but he wasn't great. That's why I'm mentioning him, is because he definitely has the potential to go out there again. He's not, old. He's still got it. He definitely could very well. It's pretty possible he could go out there and be one of the best safeties in the league again. But really, this secondary is definitely this team's biggest weakness. This front seven's taking a bit of a dip. So this defense is, like, it's not bad, but it's looking like on the verge to where one or two bad off seasons and their defense is no longer as good as it's been for the past decade. So yeah. Anyways, let's get started. I still feel like the Seahawks are ready to roll. A great offense, an all right, they've got a pretty good defense. They're ready to roll through this NFC. So in week one, they have an away game against Indianapolis Colts, who got Carson Wentz, and I don't like that. Had one of his worst years last year, and then last year he didn't even have any injury issues. And they didn't sign a wide receiver to go with T.Y. Hilton, who's getting old. He's still great, and I like that they re-signed T.Y. Hilton. But still, I feel like another wide receiver would have helped them greatly. So in week two, they've got a home game against Tennessee Titans, who went out there. They lost Corey Davis, Adam Humphries, Jonnu Smith, but then they signed possibly a top 5 wide receiver in Julio Jones. I mean, a lot of people say that he's the best wide receiver. Julio Jones is absolutely insane. The talent that he's going to bring to the Tennessee offense. I mean, now you've got Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry all on the same team. Possibly the best wide receiver paired with a really great young wide receiver in A.J. Brown. And then you've got the best running back in the game. This Tennessee offense is going to be insane. This defense, though, I don't know if it can hold up against the Seattle's offense. And really, it's going to come down to the fact that I like Seattle's defense over Tennessee's defense. And it's going to be really close, but I'm going to have Seattle win this game in week 2. And then in week 3, they have an away game against the Minnesota Vikings, who had a really rough last year, especially the first half of last year was absolutely horrible. That defense could not get anything going at all. It started to show like bits of flashes towards the end of the season, but really, I mean, it still wasn't really good. I feel like, the end of the season is definitely better than the beginning of the season, so if they can carry that over into this season, maybe they can get something going, but they're not going to beat the Seahawks. That's just not even in the question. Then in week 4, they have an away game against the San Francisco 49ers, the fully healthy San Francisco 49ers now, with George Kittle back, with Jimmy G back, and I feel like Jimmy G, fully healthy now, will probably keep the starting job all 17 games. I'm not going to say, I'm not going to predict a win, unless I'm like 100% sure that a rookie quarterback is going to start in the middle of the season. I don't predict it. Like, there's a good chance that Trey Lance is, starting in, week 7 or something. If Jimmy G has a rough start, I don't think he will, though. I'm probably going to have Seattle split with San Francisco, so San Francisco's going to win this game in week 4, and Seattle will get back at them in week 13. But I'll wait to predict that until we get there, obviously. Okay. Now, and I did click on San Francisco. Yep, it just takes a bit. So in week 5, they have their second straight divisional game, and their second straight tough divisional game. It's a home Thursday night game against the L.A. Rams, who have one of the best defenses in the league, and they have an insane offense. I mean, L.A. is up there. They're probably the best team in this division, I feel. They have a tough schedule, so they might not win it, but Yeah, and again, I hate to do this with divisional games, but I'm gonna have them split. It's just one of those situations to where I can't see the other team sweeping the other team. It's just like I can't figure out, and I'm just gonna have them split. Then in week 6, they have an away game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are heavily underrated right now. I said they were going to be bad last year. They completely surprised me, and now people are making the same mistake, I feel. Pittsburgh, they have an insane defense, even with the loss of Bud Dupree in that offense. Big Ben still got it. He's not washed. He's still out there putting up numbers. I mean, 11-0, you can't ignore that. They went 11-0 last year, and even though they didn't have the hardest of schedules, they still went 11-0. They still pushed through. They got demolished in the playoffs, but I think they still got enough in them to beat the Seattle Seahawks right now. They have a really tough division, which is why their record isn't any higher. But yeah, and then in week 7, they have a home game against the another heavily underrated team in the New Orleans Saints. People are saying that, oh, they're going to be terrible now. They're going to have 5 wins this season. No, Jameis Winston sitting a year behind Drew Brees is going to be a big help to his decision making, and it's going to help to a lot less interceptions. And if he can go, I know he's not going to take it from 30 to 5, but if he can, throw like only 14 interceptions and keep his other production to the same as where it was, throw 30 touchdowns again, this team could be insane because they still got Michael Thomas, they still got one of the best running backs in Alvin Kamara, and that defense, they actually, after they figured out their cap problem, they started signing more players onto that defense. So I like this New Orleans team, and as much as I say that, I like Seattle more. So Seattle's going to get the win here on Monday Night Football. And yeah, and then in week 8, they have a home game against the worst team in football. No contest. So basically two bye weeks right here. I know that no team is insanely easy to beat. But yeah, they go into the bye week at 6-2. I don't know if they'll be up there in the division, because if you've seen my other videos, you'll know that I think that the Rams and the 49ers are 2 of the best teams in the NFC, and the Seattle is almost right up there with them. So they have a really tough division. But in week 10, they have an away game against the Green Bay Packers, the Aaron Rodgers-less Green Bay Packers. They have Jordan Love now, and I don't think that'll completely demolish the team. I mean, Jordan Love did sit a year behind one of the best quarterbacks ever in the entire history of the NFL, in Aaron Rodgers. And for all I know, they'll re-sign him, and Aaron Rodgers will be back on the Packers at this point. But as of right now, Jordan Love is their QB, and that's that. I definitely think they'll be all right. Not enough to beat the Seahawks, so yeah, Seahawks get another win here. A lot of these are really close, and I'm just kind of giving them to the Seahawks, which is why I do worst case, best case scenario after these. By the way, after I do my normal predictions, stick around for best case and worst case scenario. But in week 11, it's their third divisional game, and it's another home one against the Arizona Cardinals. Probably the weakest team in the division. In any other division, they'd probably come in second, or in some, they'd come in first. Cough, cough, NFC East. But they're just in probably one of the 2 best. That's definitely the best division in NFC, but it's up there for best division in the entire league. So Arizona, I mean, they signed AJ Green, they signed JJ Watt. Now that defense has a lot of good players. I feel like this team is. I can't see Seattle sweeping them, and I can't see Arizona sweeping them. Seattle's going to get the win here, and Arizona's going to strike back in the last week of the season. So now they're up to 8-2 once that switches. Yep, and then in week 12 they have a rematch from last year, going up against the one of the best defenses in the league. I'd say it's probably up there in top 3. A lot of people saying it's the best. I don't see that. I think there's a couple defenses above that. Cough, cough, Rams. But yeah, Washington, and going out there getting Curtis Samuel. Now they have Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel, 2 great deep threats, and then they get Ryan Fitzpatrick, who was really great throwing deep. I like this Washington offense, and Antonio Gibson was great last year. That offensive line, it's getting better, but it's not there yet. I feel like that's going to hold back Antonio Gibson for a couple more years before he can finally explode onto the scene. But I think Washington is good enough to. I mean, last year, I feel like this has probably been one of the best off seasons we've seen from Washington in a good long while. So they've gotten a lot better. And last year, with their backup QB and a lot of other injuries, they still almost mounted a comeback drive against the Seattle Seahawks. And I feel like now completely revamped, a lot better. And with Seattle having not done much this offseason, I'm going to give Washington the win here. And then in week 13, it's a rematch, like I already said. They're going to split with San Francisco, bump up to 9 wins. Then in week 14, going up against the Houston Texans, who got rid of absolutely everybody. They do still have one of the best quarterbacks in the league, which is weird to say for a team that's so bad. I'm going to give Seattle the win here. That's really no question here. They got up to double-digit wins before losing to Los Angeles in week 15. So now they're 10-4, looking great. I'm going to go ahead and show you. They're not winning the division. But in week 16, they have a home game against Chicago Bears, who have a pretty good defense. They got Justin Fields. They tagged Allen Robinson. I like what Chicago did to that offense. That defense has been good for the past couple of years. I feel like Chicago, they're on their way up. Andy Dalton, though, I feel like he won't be starting now. I feel like Justin Fields is going to start as early. That's one of the only, I think it might be the only team that I actually predicted when Justin Fields would step in, and I think it was either week 3 or week 4. It's just because Andy Dalton is so bad. I mean, he is horrendous. They overpaid for him, and to get the money to overpay for him, they cut one of their best players, like in their whole team. Seattle gets the win here. I mean, even just for that, it was rough. And then in week 17, they're going against another one of the worst teams in the league with one of the best head coaches, but we don't talk about that. This team is just horrendous down to the bone. Penei Sewell is a good pick. I mean, he was great. If Penei Sewell didn't get picked by the Bengals, they were no question who they were taking. Penei Sewell was open, and they took him. Great option. Jared Goff isn't terrible, but he's not anywhere close to as good as Matthew Stafford was. And it's funny because he finally was getting the love he deserved, and now everyone's saying that he's really overrated. It's kind of sad, but I feel like he's going to prove everybody different when he goes to when the Rams start playing. I didn't even talk about him when I was talking about the Rams. And they also signed Deshaun Jackson. I didn't even talk about that. But like I already said, splitting with Arizona. They lose there. So they end the season at 12-5. That's definitely good enough to get them into the playoffs. Probably third in the division, though. So third in the division, but they're going to have a pretty good shot at getting into the playoffs, I think. And seeing as how, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but the 7th is 11-6, and they're 12-5. So, yeah. Now let's do worst case scenario, and then we'll end the video on a good note with best case scenario. So you can see just how good things can get after seeing just how horrible things can get. And again, this is not likely. This is as bad as I am willing to say that it is possible for the Seahawks to be. All right, I could not physically see a scenario when they get under the record I'm about to put them at. I don't see a scenario when they lose Indianapolis. They could definitely lose to Tennessee, like I already said. That's one of the close games that I had to pick. LA Rams could probably sweep them. I was very tempted to make them actually do that in my normal predictions, but I decided not to. Like I already said, New Orleans could definitely get that win there. Green Bay could probably get the win here if Jordan Love goes out there and plays insanely well. Can't see Arizona or San Francisco sweeping them. And yeah, so absolute worst case scenario is 8-9, which is not horrible. There are obviously a lot of teams that would love to go 8-9 and teams that did. So the fact that I could not see a scenario where y'all get double-digit losses. I think no matter what, well, I was about to say you could get a winning, but that's not a winning record. So, absolute worst case scenario, you slightly get a losing record, and things are falling apart. It's just like all the age. You have a lot of old players that starts catching up. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that could go wrong, and that will go wrong if they go 8-9. And was that it? Yep, like 12-5. Now let's go best case scenario. Yay! Best case scenario, they could beat Pittsburgh. Cannot see them sweeping San Francisco or the Rams. They could beat Washington, and they could beat Arizona. So absolute best case scenario, and again, this is as far as I'm willing to say that they could, like as good as I'm willing to say they could go. I cannot see them go 16-1. It's not possible in my eyes. Well, it's possible, obviously, but it's not without any injuries to any other teams or any, I don't know, crazy signings in the coming weeks. 15-2 is as good as I am willing to say that they can go. So from 8-9 to 15-2, that's pretty good. It's a 7-game range. Then most of those are in the winning category. So again, a lot of teams would, looking down here at Philadelphia and Dallas, would absolutely love to have that. Well, let's switch it back because, again, both of those aren't likely in my eyes. I think those are, crazy scenarios, but not, too crazy. They're just viable enough that I think they could happen. Back to 12-5. They only lost away games. They're completely undefeated at home, so that's something to look forward to. It hasn't even hit me yet that teams have like different. Normally it's 8 home and 8 away. Now it's different. They have more away games than they do home games. But hey, they're going into the playoffs most likely. Let me just go ahead and check. Well, everything's like yeah. I haven't actually made a video for Arizona, but I've already got all of those picks made. That's what kind of sucks about doing this is that when you get to the end, it's rough. So yeah. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you in my next one when I talk about the Arizona Cardinals. And, maybe you may have just seen what record they're going to get, but there's still some other reasons to watch. Or you can go watch on my other predictions. Maybe you're not just a Seahawks fan. Maybe you're also a Tennessee fan because you live in Tennessee, but your family is a big Seahawks fan. That's the deal with me. I live in a state of a football team, but my whole family is fans of another team. Well, I don't know why I'm like saying it like that. I live in North Carolina, so I'm naturally a Panthers fan, but my whole family is a big Washington fan. So, yeah, anyways, that's a whole nother discussion. But like and subscribe, don't forget to do that, and I hope to see you.